LA Sparks ownership just made a move to potentially bring in Caitlin Clark, White Indiana Fever, Kelly Crosskoff, Amber Cox, Lynn Dunn. Count your days. The GOAT is gonna get the hell away from you very, very soon.
The Indiana Fever have Caitlin Clark, the most watched player in the history of women's professional basketball. A player averaging 21.2 points per game in 2026. A player who has driven WNBA television ratings to numbers the league had never seen before she arrived. A player who turned a franchise that most people had forgotten about into the most talked about team in the sport.
And we've already been informed she is on minutes restriction yet again. She will be playing 20 to 25 minutes yet again. Stephanie White is going to fuck with her.
And the head coach of that franchise does not want to build around her. She does not support her the way a star of that level deserves. She substitutes her out of games at the worst possible moments. She forces her into a system that is designed for a different player. And now that the Los Angeles Sparks have made their interest in Clark completely clear, now that a new and powerful ownership group is putting real organizational pieces in place to build something around her, Stephanie White is blocking the move.
Is that Stephanie White is keeping it her big plan to keep Caitlin Clark on these minute restrictions. Now, we know before last game, Aaliyah Boston did not play. Aaliyah Boston came into this game of versus the Phoenix Mercury, played 38 damn minutes. She did not play 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, pull her out, completely killed her rhythm. Whatever the case is, it's clear to me, and it should be clear to you, that Stephanie White has a clear agenda against Caitlin Clark. She do not want to let her get in the rhythm. She do not want her to be herself.
She does not even want Clark that badly, but she will not let her go either. So, Clark is just stuck, trapped in Indiana, building a franchise she may not want to stay in. And LA is right there watching, waiting, building.
Being laid. I don't know. I tried to tell you guys. Okay, I tried to tell y'all Michael Thompson, Laker legend, wasn't just saying things just to be saying things. He has intel on what the hell is going on in LA, and especially with this new ownership group, who is the same ownership group that have made big moves for the Lakers. They're looking to make a major splash with.
Before we get into the blocking and the drama, you need to understand what the Los Angeles Sparks actually are right now. Because this is not the same franchise that spent the last decade being irrelevant. The Sparks are owned by a group led by Mark Walter, the same man who is now the majority owner of the Los Angeles Lakers after the NBA Board of Governors approved his controlling stake purchase from the Buss family in late 2025. Walter also owns the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is the CEO of Guggenheim Partners, a global investment firm with over $340 billion in assets. This is not a casual sports owner. This is someone who wins. His Dodgers have been World Series contenders for years. His Lakers are the Lakers, and his Sparks are the next project.
Right now, if you don't think the LA Sparks got some cooking, you're damn crazy. You're crazy. And if you ain't following the news, you better get to connecting the dots.
The ownership group also includes Magic Johnson, the same Magic Johnson who has a personal relationship with winning in Los Angeles that goes back decades. When Walter and Magic have a franchise, they are not building to be decent. They are building to be the story. And right now, the biggest story in women's basketball is Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin's one of one too, right? Like, she is unique in when the ball crosses half court, it's in the scoring zone. We have our hands full. You can't lose sight of her for a half a second. So we'll mix up what we're doing with her, mix up who's guarding her, but I don't think it matters that she hasn't played here since 24. She is who she is, and you know, as much as her scoring, shooting is a threat, her passing is even more dangerous. So we've got to be locked in, and it's not just, you know, whoever's guarding her. It's got to be all 5 people locked in, head on a swivel, because she's an unbelievable.
The person Walter and Magic brought in to run the basketball side is Lynn Roberts. She spent 9 years at Utah building the program into a consistent NCAA tournament presence. She is not a first-year coach figuring things out. She is a builder, and she has been aggressive from the moment she walked in the door.
could be making a run towards Caitlin Clark. Now, with that being said, last week we seen them sign none other than Kate Martin, one of Caitlin Clark, close friends from Iowa. We've been seeing Caitlin Clark subliminally pull up with her CC1s in the LA Sparks colorway. Now, with that being said, if you mean to tell me that if it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a damn duck. And that's exactly what the LA Sparks is doing.
In May 2026, the Sparks signed Kate Martin. If you are not paying attention to why that matters, let me tell you. Kate Martin was Caitlin Clark's teammate at Iowa. She was there for the historic NCAA run. She is someone Clark has real chemistry with, someone who understands how Clark plays without needing a coaching session to explain it. You do not go sign Kate Martin in the middle of a WNBA season by accident. That is a message, another signal. And then there is Kelsey Plum, a legitimate offensive weapon who knows how to play alongside a ball-dominant guard. The Sparks are not just collecting bodies. They are constructing a roster that is designed to complement a point guard who wants the ball in her hands and wants to create. They are building around a player they do not even have yet.
The beginning of the groundwork. One, Caitlin Clark has a wonderful, wonderful relationship with Cameron Brink that stems back to their Team USA days as high schoolers. Okay, that's one. Two, they brought in Caitlin Clark's best friend in the world. You are my best friend in the whole wide world. Kate Martin in the whole wide world. They brought in Kate Buddy Martin from Iowa, okay? Now, they have decided to part ways with the GM, and they are going to be looking to make a...
Let's talk about what Caitlin Clark is actually doing on a basketball court right now. Because the argument that she should stay in Indiana starts falling apart the moment you look at the numbers. She is averaging 21.2 points per game in 2026, a career high. This is her third professional season, and she is still improving. She has another All-Star selection. She was the MVP of the FIA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament in March 2026. The Fever Liberty game on June 6th averaged 2.557 million viewers on CBS. The most watched WNBA game on any network this entire season, and the second most watched women's basketball game on any network since the year 2000. Are we treating her like the centerpiece, or are we treating her like one piece among many? The answer, based on everything that has happened this season, is not a comfortable one.
Following up on Caitlin from earlier, she didn't practice yesterday. Why was she not listed on the injury report, or why wasn't the injury report updated like earlier today if she woke up with soreness in her back?
Well, not everybody that doesn't practice or gets a pro day is on the injury report, so that happens all the time. And she wasn't listed on the injury report earlier because we expected her to play.
And is she injured? I guess is a fair question. Is she injured, or is it something other than an injury?
Her back is sore. So if there's anything more detailed than that, that's the training staff.
Do you think the Fever could get fined for not listing her as on the injury report?
Let's start with the moment that made everyone stop and pay attention. May 31st, Fever versus Portland Fire. Stephanie White pulls Clark in the first quarter. The Fever go on to lose 100-84, a 16-point blowout. During a second quarter timeout, the cameras catch Clark and White in what every person watching could see was a heated argument. Clark stands up and moves behind White, visibly shaking her head. The whole country is watching. White's explanation afterward was that it was a minutes restriction, that it was part of the plan. But here's the thing about that explanation. Your plan produced a 16-point loss after you removed your best player. But if the protection cost you the game and cost you the trust of your star player on national television, then the plan needs reworking. Clark and White both came out publicly and said there was no issue. Clark literally said, "I ride for Steph." And maybe she meant it, but the video exists. The moment exists. Two competitive people who are not on the same page in the middle of a blowout loss. That does not disappear because both parties tell reporters it was nothing.
So when my neighbor comes up to me and tells me that he's so frustrated he's yelling at the TV because he wants Caitlin to shoot more, and you see social media, of course you do, and we all do, and we see frustration if Caitlin doesn't have the ball or if something goes wrong or if the team doesn't play well in the fourth quarter, all those things that happen in sports. What's your answer to those fans? don't know that I really have an answer for the fans. I think, I have to answer to our team, and our franchise. And we're trying to win ball games. We're not trying to appease the masses.
And this is where the frustration really starts to build, because there is a documented public belief in Indiana that the team should not be constructed entirely around Caitlin Clark. A prediction circulating from people close to the franchise was direct about it. If Caitlin Clark is the system, you won't win anything. Think about that for a second. The most productive offensive player on your roster, the player who drives your ticket sales, your television ratings, your jersey sales, your cultural relevance, and the coaching philosophy is that she should not be the system. Fans on Reddit have been saying it clearly for months. One comment summed it up. Instead of the fever building around Clark and her up-tempo game, White is building a team around her own style of play. That is not a fringe take. The Sparks would not do that. Los Angeles, with Mark Walters' resources and Lynn Roberts' ambitions, is building specifically for a guard who controls the pace and creates for teammates. They want a player to be the system. They want that player to be the centerpiece. They want the whole offense to flow through her.
I mean, Caitlin to the ground, and that's a hand to the neck, and then Alyssa Thomas steps over.
Man, this is so disgusting, bro. Like, this is why AT get the type of commentary that she gets. Like, that was unnecessary, bro. She literally...
But it is not just the coaching. It is the entire environment Clark is living in at Indiana. June 24th, Fever versus Mercury. Alyssa Thomas drives into a loose ball situation. Her closed fist goes directly into Clark's throat. Thomas gets up. She looks down at Clark on the floor. She steps over her. The referees saw none of it in real time. The game kept moving. Clark sat on the floor. When reporters asked White about it afterward, she called the missed calls egregious. One game for a closed fist hit to the throat of the league's most visible player. Clark missed the next 2 games with a back injury aggravated in that same match. A 24-year-old missing games because she absorbed a hit that should have resulted in immediate ejection and a serious league review and got a 1-game ban instead.
Coach, several members of Congress sent a letter this week to Commissioner Engelbert. They said they're concerned about what they called physical hostility and violence toward her. One line in particular said, quote, "Concerning reports suggest that many of these attacks against Caitlin Clark may be racially motivated." What's your reaction to that?
I think made a statement yesterday, so we can find that statement.
No, I understand that. I just mean as a coach, when you hear one of your players is being mentioned in a letter from members of Congress to the commissioner of the league, how do you handle that?
Again, that's not something we can control. We're not affiliated with those groups, and we try to keep the main thing and focus on the things that we can.
The situation escalated to a point that nobody in the WNBA's front office should be comfortable with. A group of 11 Republican lawmakers led by U.S. Representative August Flugger of Texas sent a formal letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert on July 7th demanding accountability. They described Clark as the face of the league. They listed specific incidents, the hip checks, the eye pokes, the Alyssa Thomas throat hit as examples of unnecessary physical hostility and violence. They floated potential DOJ involvement if the pattern of conduct rises to the level of civil rights violations. And they gave Engelbert until July 24th to respond. Congress writing to the WNBA commissioner about one player. League leadership has been reluctant to acknowledge the mistreatment. That is a credentialed journalist who covers the WNBA professionally. She is not a Twitter account, and her assessment lines up with everything the video evidence shows. Clark is being targeted. The league is slow to act. And the team that is supposed to be her home and her protection has a head coach who is publicly on record saying the offense should not revolve around her.
I just have a lot of questions, and obviously I haven't been available for like a week or so. So, first of all, I know what you guys are going to ask, and I did think it was a flagrant foul. And our reffing just needs to be better. And, it's tough. Obviously, the refs are in a really difficult spot. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, in my opinion, is to make calls. All you do is get yelled at the whole time by everybody. You're never winning. So I think for us, as the league's just got to do better protecting our players in that regard. I don't really think that it was up for debate. Obviously, it wasn't called in real time. You go back and watch the clip. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of been a discussion for 3 years now, and I think we really need to do a better job protecting.
When Clark came back from that injury absence, she stood in front of the cameras and said the league needs to do better protecting its players. She said officiating needs to improve. And then because this is Caitlin Clark, she also condemned the harassment being directed at other WNBA players in the aftermath of the controversy. And the LA Sparks are watching every second of this. They are watching every game, every press conference, every substitution pattern. They are watching Indiana handle this wrong, and they are building the argument for what right looks like. The Indiana Fever exercised their team option on Clark's deal for the 2027 season before this campaign even began, locking her in at a salary of $597,596 for that year. In 2028, she becomes a restricted free agent. Restricted means Indiana can match any offer, but it does not mean the Sparks cannot make an offer. If Clark wins the WNBA MVP in 2026, she could be eligible for a protected max of $1.3 million in 2027, a supermax of $1.7 million in 2028. For a player whose face is responsible for television ratings that hadn't been seen in women's basketball since the year 2000, that is still not close to what she is worth in terms of market value. But it is the framework, and the Sparks can match it. The Sparks can exceed it in incentives, in infrastructure, in star treatment, in the kind of organizational commitment that says you are the reason we are here. Indiana can match a dollar figure. They cannot match what Los Angeles represents.
She's going to be on a minutes restriction, around 20 to 25, so we'll see what that looks like. But she will be available and able to play still with a minutes restriction.
You expect the same kind of distribution of how you handle those minutes by quarter as last time in LA?
No, because that's 10 more minutes a game than we had the last time. So, I think you can go for longer periods. I think the biggest thing is, when you haven't done anything really for a couple of weeks, it's endurance, right? It's building endurance, it's efficiency, it's getting back in rhythm, getting back with timing and flow and all of those things, and trying to expand the longer periods of time for sure.
Stephanie White can block this move for now. She can tell the media there is no issue. She can talk about competitive relationships and hard coaching, but she cannot block the fact that Caitlin Clark is 24 years old, is averaging career numbers, and is watching a franchise in one of the biggest markets in the sport build a roster specifically designed for the way she plays. She cannot block the fact that the most powerful ownership group in women's basketball history wants her to be the centerpiece. Clark has been professional. She has been careful. She has not called anyone out publicly, and she has defended her coach in every press conference. But she is not naive. She is watching what Los Angeles is building. She signed Kate Martin. She brought in Kelsey Plum. She has a new head coach who has publicly declared this organization is here to win. You can trap someone's body in a contract. You cannot trap their mind. And right now, Caitlin Clark's mind may already be somewhere on the 405 freeway heading toward Crypto.com Arena. Indiana better figure that out fast, because the Walter Group does not lose these kinds of races.